start streaming right now, and we'll just talk. And I want to make sure it like shows up.
All right, 5, 4, 3. I like 3.
Yeah.
This is just finishing up.
Hey, welcome to the BattleBots After Show. My name is Will Bales. This is everyone here. We got team members from Rotator and Witch Doctor and HyperShock. We're going to talk today a little bit about the episode that we just watched last night that both of you were in. I had a pretty contested fight there, a lot of history. But first, let's go right into our first match. So we have Poison Arrow versus Mega Tento was one of the highlights. So I don't know. I was excited to see. I don't know about you guys. I was excited to see Mega Tentomushi back because it's hilarious to watch. But it just smothers things.
Personally, I really wanted to see Mega Tentomushi work because, I mean, look at it. It looks so different than anybody else. You think, who's going to try that? And that's just to see it be as effective as it was. I don't know. I loved it.
Yeah, I think, we all probably agree that in person it just seems so big. Like, how could this possibly be the same weight as our robot, which is pretty much the size of Poison Arrow right there.
Yeah, well, it's a good comparison because Poison Arrow is so tiny. It's
one of the smallest robots.
Was it the smallest?
Yeah, I think
Them and Minotaur. Well,
dense.
probably was probably smaller because it designated weight for the drum.
Right. It was even smaller. So you have
pounds.
the two opposites of size here, and I mean
Purposefully done.
Whereas
maybe?
they had a
a
60,
good
70 pound drum, Mega Tento.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see that in there.
I think they just had really bad mechanical issues with.
yeah. Well,
they did
weapon
quite a bit
drive.
of damage to Poison Arrow. There's quite a bit of
yeah. The problem
superficial damage.
The
maybe,
problem
but-
with Mega Tento, the big problem is that when they smother it and they had the drum on the inside, you couldn't see the damage.
Judges couldn't see the damage.
Well, you're right. Judges couldn't see the damage. So
You could hear it.
Yeah, you could. You could hear it.
But I mean, imagine not being able to see your robot for almost half the fight. That gets to you.
Well, now it's drum versus drum. You don't know what's hitting what in there.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That's call for action for first-person cameras.
Yeah.
FPV.
She did have a camera in there, though.
Yeah, there was some
She
shots.
did, but they didn't. Not live.
Well,
So we're saying Poison Arrow couldn't see their robot.
Right.
FPV
Oh, I see what you're
camera.
saying. The opponent would have the FPV.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about having controllers with cameras for a while.
Yeah. Well,
Having
yeah.
first-person camera of the robot.
So we were going to do that for Shaman this year, but it was just, too last minute, too many things to add.
Weight.
And, it wasn't really a weight issue, it was just controllability.
Well, for one of our matches, we did have the FPV, but it just had some interference with the camera systems in the arena. So the colors were off, but you could see some.
That might be an issue.
Did we lose feed?
No, I think
It's freezing.
we're good. The stream is lagging. Wow.
Is that Wi-Fi?
Imagine not being able to see your robot for almost
We'll
half
turn
the
that
fight.
off. Like, turn the volume off.
Now it's drum versus drum. You don't know
That's-
what's hitting one in there.
Just watching ourselves here.
Yeah. So yeah, bandwidth issues. Well, it's on back now. So turn the volume down.
Trying.
Anyway, so let's go to Brutus versus Mobius. So you guys used to have Adam Burku, the handshake devil,
The handshake master, yeah.
the handshake master on your team.
He started Busted Nuts Robotics with us in 2011, 2010.
Oh, you started it?
You must
I
have
didn't
started
realize
in
that. Yeah.
2010
It was
because you
me
guys
and
were
Tento.
two-time.
Me, him, and Paul were
champions.
the original members. So
Cool. So going into it, the guns, the freaking guns.
The man with the golden gun.
The guns were, I don't know. It's
Fuglicious.
it's a cool
It's different.
idea.
Reverse
Different.
gangster. How does that? I mean, it's not really the way he had them was pretty unusual.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
true. It wasn't like this. It
Yeah.
was like
Total
this.
robot, of course, like robots. Yeah, this works better.
Your attention to details uncanny.
Right, but I mean,
By
okay.
grabbing the guns, like he had them.
Yeah,
on
like
the
okay,
robot.
but to their credit, in modern BattleBots, it's the first projectile.
Yes.
So that was cool, and they did actually land a hit on Mobius.
Yeah.
The last shot.
Yeah, right. The last shot before they ran out. But then there's Mobius who comes in like wailing on guitar. Chris Rhodes is a freaking badass. Just comes in like just thrashing, and they're all super freaky looking. And then Shaggy like throws his hands up, throws his hoodie back, and just starts screaming.
I think they outdid us on the intro for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know, you guys,
Definitely
yeah.
stage credit.
yeah,
for
Witch
sure.
Doctor,
Stage presence.
you know,
Stage
owned, the presentation last year, but this year you kind of got wrecked.
Well, Mobius back in the show, always had that really, they were famous for that introduction, which was definitely part of the inspiration for us, trying to put on a show, this BattleBots. But yeah, I mean, we can't top an electric guitar and a casket. I mean, that was over the top.
They went over the top. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was one of the best intros I've seen live. It was just amazing.
We were sitting in the audience when they came in, and people were like, "Oh, is he actually playing the guitar?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, he's like jamming. It's awesome."
Yeah, he was just chilling in the pits, just jamming away all week, like the entire week. So that was actually really great.
Well, their intro was actually probably about twice as long as what they aired.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it was
Right.
all original music because they couldn't actually play anybody else's song.
Right.
Yeah,
They had
right.
licensing.
That's why
and
they
shit.
were allowed to just play
Yeah.
music in the pits because they were making it.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
were
exactly.
live. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had this
Copyright
great.
this.
Yeah. So they had a wonderful intro. They looked awesome, and then what happened? Because like all this
Spit
stuff.
out the guts.
Yeah.
All the guts.
Yeah.
Spit
So
out.
like, I mean, you remember what happened, right?
I do.
What? Obviously, you remember what happened. Tell me what happened.
So I mean, my take on it was, what I thought. I thought the batteries came out post the first hit, but it was pre the first hit. So my guess is Mobius went to spin up, full body spinners. Their inside start spinning sometimes if you're coining, you don't have good traction, and that centrifugal force.
I was speaking to the guitarist actually, and he said that the zip ties were the only things that were really holding the batteries there.
Oh,
We saw the
And-
zip ties on the.
And when you look at the video in slow motion, it's clear as day. Zip ties, guts. Like immediately after it starts spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
guess
then it still spins something. I guess they had weapon or separate from whatever batteries that was.
Some of the batteries probably came
They
out,
kept
but not all of
spinning.
them.
if I had them all in parallel. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, all the weapon
So-
ones, clearly.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So in the fight, we should have put the clip up. In the fight, you see this like cellophane-ish looking stuff that goes like out of the robot and that gets caught in the screws, and that's actually the battery.
The light
So
was
slowly being pulled out of the inside of.
Yeah, it was
Mobius.
like a magician.
How
It,
do
it was
they
like
deal
100
with
feet
that?
long.
Yeah.
It's like never ending.
How do you deal with that?
How do you deal with it? Very carefully. The fact that it just didn't all catch fire
That's a
That's
testament to their battery.
was,
Yeah.
probably
I guess it
testament to the
didn't
batteries.
puncture it; it just unraveled.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
didn't
think the
puncture it,
cell
just
probably-
shredded
The
it.
shrink wrap, the shrink wrap around it just tore as it spit out the robot, and the cell unwound.
Well, the thing is, the timing of it was perfect, so it looked like Adam shot him with a gun, and then all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
smoke came out from under.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion. So watching it live, you see the
Holy
sparks.
crap, he landed it.
Sparks are from the bullets, and I didn't know what was going on. And then the battery starts going, and it's just like.
I've had arguments
what's
with people that say,
going
what
on?
are they shooting? Are they like smoke bombs? It's like, no, these are separate events. They have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah. So we saw Brutus got 2 hits on him, flipping over. But after the fight, a couple of us went over, and you could see a giant crack right down the side of their shell. I mean,
Well, the first hit that they got, Mobius actually does a full 360 and lands back on its wheels and drives.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
I think he
pretty
drove off the
impressive.
wall or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
what happens
Impressive.
after?
The wall.
So yeah, I mean, it was.
Choreographed
I
perfectly.
think
It was
I
beautiful.
think it
Yeah.
broke on the weld scene.
No, I don't
No,
think so.
no, it didn't. That was the weird part. It didn't, and I was like, oh,
Well, I think
damn.
their
that's
shell
what I
is
was-
hardened.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
all
So
about
it was
3/8 inch
malleable.
chromoly.
Yeah.
It was so
It's
heavy.
a little brittle.
But it was rolled.
Was it?
But it took some big hits.
Was it heavier than Son of Whyachi's bar?
I think it was 100 and
I don't
something
know.
pounds.
Yeah, I think it was about half their weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Must have been
nuts.
easily about 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And it was so tall.
What were they running
Yeah.
for weapon drive?
Weapon Drive was another big E-Tech.
E-Tech, yeah.
Mars something.
Big one.
Mars.
Yeah, and they had it standing up
Up.
with all sorts of stuff. So it was
That's
really
why it was so tall.
Yeah. So okay, so that was fun, and then there's Son of Whyachi versus Chuck. Basically, it didn't matter. Chuck could have brought a totally new robot, and
It would've-
Yeah.
even though
but-
Terry said
I know.
I like Chuck, but I hate this
I
damn
hate
robot.
robot, but that's,
it didn't matter.
It seemed personal.
Yeah, last year with Warrior Clan and Ghost Raptor, it was Chuck didn't mind stabbing and twisting a little bit. So
Well, Terry said he was going to retire, but then Chuck said, I retired Terry. So he wasn't going to put up with that after that Warrior Clan fight.
okay, yeah. Well, yeah.
That blew
He
up
showed
on him, I
him.
guess.
Yeah. If a foot was left, I would have said that like Ghost Raptor's foot was in Chuck's mouth, but like it was all.
Well, it kind of was after that bar incident with his
Yeah.
own robot.
Yeah,
he
so like
practically disabled himself.
yeah, I understand that
robot.
when you're up against Son of Whyachi and you have like
No armor.
that bar spinner, that you're not going to win that fight.
Definitely not weapon to weapon.
Right, definitely not weapon to weapon. So
Which
the
he decided not to go weapon at all, right?
well, right. So the,
No, I didn't even use it.
Like, I mean,
But which
the
is-
strategic thing is okay. I won't use the weapon, fine. But then halfway through, he's like, "All right, now we'll turn it on."
Spin it up, take him out.
Yeah, spin
Yeah.
it up, take it out.
So-
And I'm
I wonder if
like,
that
okay.
was. I wonder how serious Chuck was about that. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna win this weapon to weapon with Sal."
In fairness, in the episode, you could see that at that point, Son of Whyachi did start to like slow down a little bit, and then they spun right back.
Well, I don't think.
So-
I think the first half they weren't even going full speed.
I think he said afterwards that he was scared of going full speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the end
But-
though, like when Chuck's high
It's such a
centered,
big
Yeah.
weapon.
you see Sal's like it looks hella fast compared to the first half of the match. So
Yeah.
he was
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
going for the kill shot, which he.
Oh, and that was
got.
perfect. The little mini bot jamming up the wheels
yeah.
of what Ghost Raptor. It was this perfect timing, and they got the perfect
Yeah.
camera angle on it.
Yeah, I'm impressed they
That's
actually
amazing.
got that to work.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that they got that to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
but
one of the few
you
times
see that
that
Sal
it
actually
worked.
got high sided on
Yeah.
first. So I was wondering if they were, like,
It's because
Little
they're so hard
stressed out,
to
but-
control.
yeah,
The little
well, yeah.
guys.
But,
Are-
I mean,
Well,
they-
it only weighed 3 pounds.
Yeah.
So that's, you know.
yeah, but if you get
10%.
high sided by your own,
yeah,
yeah.
that's, yeah.
Get tangled.
Yeah. So like, okay, one big beef that we realized. This is after a year. I never even thought of it, but after a year of watching Ghost Raptor do things, I was like, wait a second, that's not a raptor. That's a saber-toothed tiger at best. So, and those are not raptors. And then someone at the event, I didn't even realize this. Someone at the event was like, that's not a raptor. It's a saber-toothed cat. So, a friend of ours yesterday was like, it's a good thing that Chuck is an engineer because he'd make an awful biologist.
You're referring to the logo on the back of his shirt.
yeah, referring to their logo, which
Well, I
is
love the
not
sign
a
is
raptor.
saber-tooth
Not a
cat,
raptor.
period. So matter of fact, you know, they're not even angry about it. They just want to tell him. what's
He's a
up.
biologist. Wait, is that the? Oh, hold on, go back. Is that the? That is the BattleBots update guy.
Is it?
Is it?
Yeah, that's on.
Oh, that looks like
Oh,
him. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. That
Nice
that's
touch.
sense.
Nice
you know what?
played.
He knew
I
and
think
he
he
waited.
shamed him last year. I think he mentioned something
He did?
about that on his update last year. Yeah.
That was okay. So yeah, so watching Ghost Raptor get trashed was fun. Then there was what everyone's saying was the best match of the entire season so far: Yeti versus Lockjaw.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it wasn't just one-sided, which is really nice, and it really went the full. It went the full 3 minutes, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I went to
It went to
judge.
judges.
yeah, the first couple seconds you were saying earlier, the first couple seconds, Yeti was just on it, and then after the flipper was out, after the flipper was incapacitated,
When he could have really taken advantage of it.
Yeah.
right, all of a sudden he was
He
then
was
going right into the
right
jaws.
into the jaws, which were perfectly sized to
Yeah.
jam him up, and inadvertently
Thanks,
jam
Kenny.
him up.
I
Thanks,
think this was
Kenny.
actually the only match they didn't use jam him up. Though.
Yeah,
That's true.
I was
I
really
a little
missed out.
disappointed.
I'm pretty sure
Kenny-
he
Kenny
did.
missed that one.
He had to
Did he?
have slipped it in there. He
They
said it
edited it out,
once,
I guess.
like in tandem with another phrase. It wasn't
Oh,
just
okay.
he jammed him up. It was like something jammed him up, something. Like it was like.
Just sneak it in there.
Yeah, he
Just
snuck
like a little
it in.
something.
But to Yeti's defense, he did say he didn't have much of a strategy.
He did. He
Right.
admitted-
So
admitted
Yeah,
it's
he
he
pretty
did
much
strategy.
it's pretty obvious he's like all offense, which I think we can appreciate.
Right. I personally really like Yeti. I think it's probably my favorite new robot.
Spinny lifter.
Just because Yeti is practical hypershock.
Yes.
They said, "Oh, let's have 4-wheel drive and not make it dumb. Let's use a spinning weapon and let's use brush motors because we know they work. Let's have a lifting arm and we'll have one because we know it'll work.
Let's
and
shape it so the drum sticks out and you
Yeah,
can actually.
it was
dig
pragmatic hypershock, and I'm extremely jealous because I didn't think I would get accepted, and B, I wish we had done it.
in. Yeah. Also, to their credit, they really showed up with what they said they were going to show.
Yeah, they delivered, which
Really
is
cool.
cool.
I really like that they admit, like up front, that the first robot I built, I took it to BattleBots and it didn't work because that, that's happened to all of us, and I think people watching the show have
My
seen,
experience.
10, 15 years of experience, so they think you should start here,
Yeah, the only way to learn is to really fail as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And that usually happens after your first fight.
My first robot was definitely, like, our weapon fell off, it was...
So
it was
like,
that bad.
so then why didn't Radioactive come back this year and win? It was a great opportunity in that
Theirs
case.
was a bit different.
Oh.
With the same robot? Or?
So, all right, so let's go to the SawBlaze Razorback fight, because this is something that's very telling of how judging changed this year.
Yeah.
So, last year they were pretty upfront about what the judging criteria were. It was, strategy, it's control, strategy, damage, aggression. And, they're pretty much equally weighted, and then the judges make a decision accordingly. But last year there were some wedges of light force that didn't exactly follow the active weapon requirement rule in the spirit of the rule, and so they were concerned how do we try to combat that, and instead of just saying you can't have wedges, they said, all right, well, we're going to change the judging rules and we're not going to tell you what they are. And they told us this in the one of the drivers meetings, and someone asked Trey, like, well, can you tell us what they are? And he said, no. And point being that this is really telling. So right here, SawBlaze's disc, which is like a chainsaw wrapped around a hub, gets all messed up, mangled by, not El Diablo's, Razorback's drum, and then has to act as a wedge the whole time for the rest of the fight. I saw him in the pits. I saw SawBlaze in the pits, and it was still working. Like, the arm still worked, and it could spin, but they were just like, it's out of the way. It doesn't really do any damage. And I think JMO drove it as if he was at any other competition, which probably would have been fine. And you can see him, like, he's out wedging him.
He's owning him.
He's owning him.
Owning.
Everyone
Consistently.
So he's
everyone
going
who
for
saw
strategy
that
and
fight
control.
said Jameson won on driving and somehow lost. And it just goes to show that if you lose a weapon, or you don't use a weapon just because it's damaged,
You have to keep trying.
you will lose.
You're gonna-
Doesn't matter how good of a driver you are, you will lose.
I bet
I
if
think-
he waved his arm around,
Exactly.
would have won. Because I remember leaving the pits, watching this match, not having seen the result yet, because it went to just judges, and then being completely shocked hearing the result, because I thought Jameson had it in back.
I think there was a unified what?
Yeah.
in the pits.
That was
Yeah.
the big
From everybody.
upset,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think
That
that
was
was
a
the
big
point at which everyone realized,
Yeah.
wait a second, the rules aren't very different.
Well, I
this
think
year.
the way we always think of aggression as just whoever's going at the other robot, but I
And
think
who's
this year it's
outdriving.
really been whoever's aggressing with an active weapon.
Right.
If you don't have an active weapon, it doesn't really give you a lot of points even to drive at the other robot. So
Right.
I think part of it also is that they're, from what I saw last year, I wasn't there on last year, but they're putting more weight on damage, and maybe it gave the impression that the weapon was damaged because they didn't use it.
Right.
So if you lose your weapon, it's like,
Well, you see the clip there.
Not
They
good.
go in. The judges go in at the end and they look at the robots because they
Yeah.
thought that they wanted to see if Jameson's weapon was damaged, which
it was.
well, I don't think it was.
Well, I mean, it was damaged. The saw was damaged, but they could have still spun it, I think,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and the arm would have worked.
They
I-
just
Sure.
put it out of the way to save it.
Yeah, there it is, right there.
Right.
Yeah, you can see stuff fly off.
Yeah, there's some-
but
I
there's
think
still
that was-
a belt on there.
I think that was stuff from.
it's hard to tell.
He
Same
had
from
a
another guy.
plastic. He had a plastic
Like a guard
casing
over
the- On JMO?
on
Around
the
the belt, I think.
the back of the
yeah.
saw. I think had a
So
plastic shielding, and that's what fell off.
or I think we've all learned that at the end of a fight like that, just show that your weapon works. Don't leave it up to chance.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you don't have any teeth on your saw, then it doesn't really matter.
But it doesn't matter because if you keep using it, I mean, it's just the illusion of using it, right? Like if it's spinning, it doesn't matter if let's say the chain broke off and it's just literally a steel wheel,
Yeah.
and he's just looks like he's grinding it on against the opponent. I mean, the judges would interpret that as damage,
Probably.
even if it's not really doing any damage.
Yeah.
I think that's the big takeaway.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go now to Rex versus Red Devil. So, this is a very strange fight to me because I thought that Rex, well, there goes Rex. like first off, I'm watching and getting all excited, and then all of a sudden, Rex disappears.
That's a quick evasive maneuver.
Yeah,
there.
it's the Rexit.
I
like
love
Brexit,
Rex. I'm a
but
huge
Brexit.
Rex fan. I want it to work every time. I think if Rex could get their walking down or put wheels on it, they could win this whole tournament.
If Rex had wheels, you're totally right. It would just.
But
It
I
would
mean,
wreck-
that is
it
one of
would
the most
wreck everything.
intense weapons in the whole tournament.
I
Yeah.
feel though it just has such contact with the ground all the time. It always gets hit
Yeah.
into the ground.
I mean, they did that
So
to
if, even if
themselves.
they get, yeah, but you see, they have only a guard on one side. They need to have a guard on both sides
They
and like
did.
in the front.
They had like a spine or something in their renders originally, but I think they were overweight.
They
and
were
had to
overweight and
try
they
it.
couldn't, yeah.
Yeah.
That's their
That would've
to
been-
their,
that
to
would've
their
been
downfall.
legit. Yeah.
It really needs to be symmetrical.
They needed a
because
symmetric
because
design.
it goes honestly
That's where it's at, right?
because
Yeah.
it needs to be able to fall on its face
If it works.
and not kill itself.
That's true, though. Yeah, because it has so much gyro, it can flip itself
Yeah.
relatively easily.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It has
but
270 degrees
yeah,
where it can die,
Yeah.
yeah,
not where it can kill, like where it can die.
Yeah, but Rex is so nasty. I mean, we have
it's
you know
really
these huge. There's these huge holes in the floor from Rex. I mean, it's
Like inch
after-
wide by like
yeah.
7-8 inches,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah,
like
you
can
walk in
see
the arena
through.
and it's like
Yeah.
Rex was here,
Like,
Rex
after-
was here.
after each match, it's like
Bang!
the arena
Yes.
wranglers are like, damn it! They have to go in there and cut and hammer the
Were we
arena
after
floor.
them? We were after them.
Yeah, they were before our fight. So you could see, in our square.
remember-
I think we were in the
Yeah,
red square.
yeah, I
and we were
remember
like,
walking up-
"What is this?" And the guy's like, "Rex."
I remember looking
great.
through the arena floor and seeing underneath the arena.
Oh, yeah, you could actually
because it
see
was
right
there's
there,
a gap
Yeah.
in the two plates.
In the
of
2-3
steel.
layers.
2-3 layers.
And then one thing we weren't talking about is Red Devil. Red Devil is amazingly, like, totally beautifully built.
Yeah.
And, but I was super concerned, and Jerome, who built it, was very upfront ahead of time. Like, he knows that his treads are exposed and that he's probably going to get trashed and blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't get destroyed.
It does.
Yeah,
get destroyed. It does get destroyed.
Well, okay, look, the choppy bits on it were ripped off and whatever. But
And the frame was split open.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the center thing. But the
Yeah.
treads were still there, and I was totally amazed that the treads were intact at all.
I think Rex just happened to miss the treads.
I guess. But
I mean,
I was
it's like a
still impressed.
massive billet aluminum thing with the treads are titanium, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
it's with massive chain on the inside. I mean, the thing's robust.
Oh, it is.
So it's not.
It is.
You know.
And then somehow he rebuilt it for the next fight, which is amazing.
He had extras.
Yeah, well, he did have like two. He had two. He
Yeah.
had two. Yeah.
Don't we?
Which was awesome.
Oh,
And then
wish.
Yeah. So and then
You guys are lucky you had one. I mean,
yeah.
showing up with two of anything.
Yeah.
Keep
Yeah, we didn't have
dreaming,
two
buddy.
I barely had two shoes. All right, so the last fight of the night was you two. It was Witch Doctor versus Rotator.
Well, we're
and-
still sitting next to each other.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah.
Highlight
We're
of
still
the-
friends,
Highlight of the
obviously.
night, right?
Yeah.
But they clearly harped on the fact that you guys have fought in the past.
Look at that
and-
face. I think that's the best part of the whole match.
Oh yeah, just the
Selling
tongue
it, really
excitement.
selling it.
Yeah.
There you go.
So you guys managed to hit the one spot that doesn't have like a half inch of titanium.
Is it
on
over?
Do you
That's it.
guys-
That's it. Yeah,
that's
that's
Do
it.
you guys know how long it took to KO? Till
7
the
seconds.
end. It was no, not
Like to
including
the
the
count
count?
count?
beginning
I don't know.
to end of
Well, look at the
KO.
clock. So
It's like 5 seconds.
yeah,
I've seen it so
2:55 when we do that initial hit where he comes off the wall, and then the countdown after that. So
Yeah, I think it's a little bit faster than our fight
Than our
with
fight.
Mohawk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wait for it.
Oh, look at that face. Only
I
I
another
don't
count.
think I could do that again if I tried.
No, it's the
was-
most excited I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think it's most exciting I've ever.
But
been.
yeah, so Rotator, I mean, we all looked at it. You built the damn thing.
Yep.
It was so well armored. Well, it was two blue flames, which you built in the
Yeah.
past.
It's 2 robots put butt to butt basically, and our only weak spot, and you guys managed to hit it. So we actually learned we had a problem with our drivetrain.
Okay.
And we actually meant to drive out a lot faster. So if you ever replay it, we actually drive out pretty slowly, and that was not the intent at all. So we realized we had our rims actually not clamping enough on the tires.
So
So-
the tire
They were
was slipping.
So full throttle and the tires were slipping. So right here, it's just like real slow acceleration,
It's like clutch lag.
and then
Yeah, but
at that point,
did you-
you couldn't even control the robot anymore.
But were you waiting there? You took like a couple
was.
seconds.
I was.
You were trying to lure me over there?
I was
Is
trying to
that the
lure
plan?
close and then come around the big plow we have
Yeah.
and try to get at your wheels. So it was kind of an ironic plan. Kind
Yeah.
of backfired the wrong
We
way.
had-
Well, I'd like to
but-
know that Victor kept his robot covered.
Oh yeah.
Obsessively covered until.
Yeah.
Well, we were
Right
covering
before
it
a
because, well, it's not a big secret, but we were trying to, we've always shown the robot with these 2 discs. And the discs are good for the higher moment of inertia and it's harder to jam. But we decided to go with a bar because the disc would have gone torn up by Witch Doctor. Like
More
just
places to grab.
more
Yeah.
places to grab. It's aluminum versus steel. So we went with a bar that's made out of steel.
Oh, they were steel.
Yeah, it would have been
I
more
thought they were
durable.
titanium.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, that was solid steel with some inserts on them.
Wow.
So that's kind of the same tactic you used with Blue Flame when we fought back
Yeah.
in 20 whatever.
But in Blue Flame,
Yeah,
I
like-
kind of like a tombstone effect, but my blade broke in half. So this time I used like mild steel, but with hardened tips.
Okay.
So that in case it would bend rather than break. So
Okay.
that was the big surprise. We kept it hidden, but
So
Yeah,
the
but-
other question that I had, someone asked me today, and I was thinking about it, was did you have to make a sacrifice in diameter on the weapon to go to the steel bars?
no.
It was
We
the
just
same
had
diameter,
we
okay.
just had to add those little holes in them.
So I just had to.
Our CAD was like right on with weight.
Because I was wondering if you had the 2 discs like that, how much room was there really between the weapons for me to get in to the wheel? Just enough.
Just enough to hit
Just
the wheel,
enough.
apparently.
Yeah, apparently about that wide.
just enough so we don't hit our own wheel.
Wow.
Well, it was amazing.
So
And I'm, the next thing we were talking about was the wild cards,
I love
and
it.
frankly, I was
playing it.
surprised that you guys didn't get a wild card because looking at it, you can tell that thing is built really well.
well, we went
Yeah.
back to the pits, swapped out. So you actually bent the Whyachi shaft on one of their big gearboxes,
Wow.
like 45 degrees.
Oh.
We swapped out. We swapped out the shaft. We swapped out the wheel, and we just had to tie in some motors in, and then we were good to go. And then from there on, we were just waiting for the wild card. We were just
Yeah.
pleading.
Well, I figured
mean,
you would, and,
the-
and they did the home follow on you guys.
Yeah.
And
They gave it to somebody.
Well,
And
really-
your
I thought that was out the
robot's-
window.
Your
I
robot's
think the-
new. It's different. It's really cool.
Well, I
Well
think
built.
it's really close to what happened with us and Bronco the first year, where the match was really, really close, but the robot looked good and just kind of give you the second chance to see if you can do something.
That's
Yeah,
what we were
but
hoping
that's-
for.
I
We
think
saw
his
some.
robot was was more different than ours was
Yeah,
from the
that's
rest
true.
of the field, though.
Yeah.
So what I understood was that we didn't last long enough to make an impression, so so they didn't have any confidence, unfortunately. But I guess anyone who saw it knew that it was still fully functional and basically no damage aside from the busted up wheel.
Yeah.
So-
Well, Disco Inferno was in a similar boat where
Yeah.
they were just sitting there and they had a sign
Yeah.
on the thing like, we're ready to go. Here's our phone number. Call us when you need
Yeah.
us. And there was just a couple robots that,
I think a little bit of schmoozing might have gone a long way on their part, but
I don't know. I mean, they had great personal presentation.
Right.
Yeah.
With the boom pow. You guys, and it was a different robot, totally different. I mean, I don't think I know of any other robot that's
That
been
one
like
was
that.
so versatile.
it was so
Yeah.
shiny.
It was
Yeah.
very shiny. You guys, that was new and looked like it could take a hit from anyone.
Yeah.
Except the side bit with the wheel.
With the wheel.
Well, that's
really
the thing. There were
far.
so many robots like that this year that could win the event. Like
Well,
the
yeah,
quality
Well,
was just
at the
so
end
high.
at the end of the match, so when we hit you and I realized your wheel had come off and you were immobile, I'm like thinking, should I hit him again? And
Should've.
I told him
no,
not
but
to.
the thought had gone through my mind. I said, oh, well, Victor lost, but he'll definitely get a wild card. So I don't want to do any more damage to your robot than I needed to because I was so sure his robot wasn't going to get a
Should
wild
have given
card.
him more damage.
I think I would have been more scared.
Yeah, I
than-
think
give him more
I think a longer fight and maybe some inflicted damage on you would have given him a better shot.
Well, it's kind of like our fight in 2011 where our middleweights fought and I beat you the first time and you happened to tap out right when I was about to rip out the back panel and
And then you did it anyway.
then you got and then you guys came back and won it all and it was just like, oh, I should have just nicked them a little late.
Well, actually, now that you bring that up, that's why when you covered the robot, we suspected you had bars in there because us coming up through the losers bracket, like you said, because you beat us, we had to beat you twice.
Yeah.
But when we broke that bar, all you had were discs left, so you actually forfeited that last match.
Yeah, I wouldn't have made any difference.
So we said there is no way Victor's going to fight us with those discs.
Yeah. Predictable.
History repeats itself, my friend.
Is this
like
the
someone
same
arranged it.
2011?
Yeah, that we
That we won.
beat you guys. Just saying.
grudge match.
Yeah.
I wasn't driving.
Half of
That
our robot
that
was
was your mistake, sir. You let Handshake Guy drive.
No, actually, it was that guy over there.
No, it was. I thought it was.
No, he was driving.
Oh, was it Paul?
Yeah, it was Paul.
Oh, sorry, Paul.
See what a
That's Paul.
democratic team they have? They actually like change, take
Yeah.
turns
That was very,
driving.
that was
Yeah.
very nice. That was
Yeah.
So okay, so the people that did get wild cards: Lockjaw, Ghost Raptor. Okay,
That what, Will?
they got the wild cards.
Oh, yeah.
Lockjaw, Ghost Raptor, Bombshell, Lucky, Overhaul, Nightmare, Blacksmith, Mega Tento.
I was glad to see Nightmare get that wild card because I want to see that self-riding.
Nightmare,
mechanism.
nothing.
I
Finally,
ignored
they
that so
needed
bad.
that
That was
wild
new and
card.
unique.
Yeah, looking at the self-riding mechanism and the videos that he's posted since then, it's awesome.
Technically, it's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's super cool. And if you could really get that to work, that was the only weakness of that robot, really. I mean, other than the fact that you could just rip the wheels off and then it was dead. But
I was excited when I saw him get flipped over because I was like, yes, do the thing, do
yeah,
the thing.
yeah.
It didn't
what
get to
what
do the
happened?
thing.
Did it just get jammed?
Yeah.
Did it get jammed up?
Jammed up. No, I don't know. I think there was some other issues because he had the electronics exposed on the bottom as well. So I think it was just a perfect storm of stuff that allowed him to not solve.
All those things.
All those things.
BattleBots
sad.
makes that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I told him he could reduce his weapon diameter by like 3 inches and save 20 pounds, and then have enough weight for a legitimate self-riding mechanism.
You never
Yeah.
want to give up on weapon.
No.
Wouldn't it be Nightmare?
He'd go more weapon if anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Just
if-
cut out of it more.
You know,
Yeah.
Jim in Breaker Box, for example, that's the totally, it's the antithesis of Nightmare. And so he knows how to do other stuff, but he doesn't want to. If people, in his words, if people still want to see Nightmare, he'll keep bringing it.
Right. He's got the same mentality as Ice Wave.
Yeah.
I want to build what I want to build, and if they tell me no, then all right, but I don't
I'm
want to
gonna
do
go-
anything else.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
not perfect. Maybe
Right.
it could be better, but for the most part, it's what I want to build.
Well,
That's
but the
it.
difference is that Jim actually does rebuild Nightmare and brings, I think, only really like the main frame is the same. The disc is new. Everything's been rewired.
I just
He
think that
said he-
overall design is just iconic. Like,
Oh,
he
yeah.
doesn't want
Yeah,
to change that. It's,
totally.
it's awesome.
As a
Yeah.
kid, that was definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he
For sure.
if he built something new, it couldn't be Nightmare. Like if
Right.
it was different, it couldn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't rename it Nightmare.
Like, no one can make a big disc like that, put it vertically, and call it another name. They're going to be like, it's a
Oh,
nightmare.
Oh, it's kind of like Nightmare, yeah.
yeah.
You know, Andre, I think at NASA, Jim was telling me that he might have to be on a new frame.
Yeah, the frame was
Yeah.
super
Yeah,
bent.
you can see.
Super bent.
Well, he
pretty
has
bad.
like 20 years on it or something
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
15.
There's a
or
bit of a
some-
kink in it.
Yeah.
That's got to be a
Something
record.
above 10.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's amazing, and it's still like alive. They were doing
And legit.
serious work on it at the
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, yeah.
It was impressive. So yeah, I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see that Nightmare's back. I'm glad to see that Blacksmith's still in because I personally love Blacksmith.
They have fire
Yeah, the
in
hammer
the
doesn't do
hammer.
like a whole lot, but it's so awesome to watch,
They have
and
the
it's
coolest.
reliable, and it's controllable. One of the problems with Beta and Chomp that I think we've seen is that when they hit, they flail all over and lose control. And at least with Blacksmith, yeah, it's not like amazing, but it hits and it hits and it hits, and he doesn't have to like,
Self-right every time.
discombobulate
Yeah,
himself.
right.
And it's, I don't know, I think it's cool.
Until the hammer part flies off.
Yeah, until until the hammerhead flies off.
Then it's just a pokey stick.
They have one of the
That's
coolest flamethrowers, though, so that's...
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. And then Bombshell, I'm excited to see back because
They deserved that.
that whole
They
thing.
had a really
I mean,
great-
they used the axe, which I'm not sure I
would
would
have
have
gone. I
used.
would not have gone with the axe.
But it was cool, kind
was
of.
Was it?
cool.
To people who don't know how destructive things really are, it looked really cool. I was with some people who saw it and they thought it was really cool, but didn't really grasp
I mean, it's
how
cool.
effective it is.
It's
yeah,
definitely cool. Like,
they
no
should
doubt.
have. They should have used a different weapon. Their Swiss
Right.
Army bot.
I think maybe
But-
they
Like
Like 4
underestimated.
different weapon designs.
But
Yeah.
the fact that it
Yeah.
looks like a kit, like it looks like one piece of thing. It's not some robots that are just kludged together. It's cohesive and it really blends well, even though it's modular.
Yeah, they did a really good job with that. I mean, and Mike's a good driver. So that
Their
helps.
get up, I mean,
Yeah.
I would have
they're
gone
up
with a
there.
horizontal spinner, but I'm biased.
That's all you know how
No,
to
I
do.
agree with that. I agree. I think
Yeah.
horizontal spinning would have been a better choice for complete control. But
Basically
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
But that.
Yeah. So then there was Lucky also
What else
is
can
in.
it do? It's a wedge.
Lucky is like Lucky's like a pretty good flipper. What is
Ziggy?
it? Not Lucky. The Ziggy
Yeah.
is what it's based on, which is
Great
the old
flipper.
version. which is an amazing flipper, and there's great videos of what was it, Sewer Snake getting tossed across an arena, which is awesome. 10, 15 feet. So I'm excited to see it actually do something. They seem to be having some issues with expelling the air and overthrowing. But they need to get that cylinder back down. That was the only problem they really had against Beta, is that they couldn't keep flipping.
Yeah. Speaking of Beta, why is it that they didn't continuously get to use their hammer? Was it a physical limitation, or they just didn't want to?
Well, some of I know when we were fighting, you were saying you should hit him now, or there were other people that were saying hit him now, and I think what it was that John Reed didn't want to hit people with the aluminum arm part of the hammer. He wanted to only hit them with the pill, because it has a steel point in it, which will do more than an aluminum stick, and he doesn't want to break the hammer.
So I just feel that there were a lot. Maybe it was just his vantage point, but there seemed to be a lot of times where he could have done it, or he missed, and then went back and didn't just refire. And I don't know. But sometimes he did. Every once in a while, he would do a couple in a row.
Well, I don't know if he had any real electrical issues. I feel like we would have heard that.
Does he need to discharge
a table or two down? You were next to him.
Yeah, I was right next to Beta.
It's just all a tank, right?
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where, like last year with Bronco versus Tombstone, there was that point that they highlighted 3 or 4 times where Bronco's flipping extension gets right under Tombstone and was there for maybe a half a second to a second, long enough that in hindsight it's like, oh, you should have flipped him. Now you missed an opportunity. And if they had, they were right over in that corner, and then maybe it could have gotten Tombstone out of the box. Maybe it wouldn't.
If we could see
That's
those camera angles
but,
during the match,
but the point is that there's always, especially with instantaneous weapons like flippers and hammers and pinchers and things that aren't just spinning all the time, it's so easy to say you should have hit then, or why didn't you? And vantage point, like you were saying, reaction time, other things that you're trying to keep track of, you miss a couple every once in a while.
Yeah, those are tough robots to aim and hit accurately.
Yeah. Let's see. Overhaul, which is totally brand new and looks nothing like the old Overhaul.
Same general form factor.
Well, I think it's interesting now that team is split up. You can see which team it had each influence.
Right.
It's very telling that Charles kept Overhaul.
Yeah, but Adam's influence is gone and Jameson's influence is gone.
Yeah, it's.
Watch the.
Yeah, we can watch it again. I was with Charles basically up until halfway through his build of this, and so I know some of the stuff that went into it. His big thing was the brushless drivetrain, and
he is sponsored by Hobby King after all.
Yeah, he is sponsored by Hobby King, so you got the motors and the controllers with them. No one thought they could do that, and he was doing okay. And at the end of this fight, at the end of this fight, it stopped, and no one knew why. He ended up blowing up 2 of the motors, but do we have the picture of why? Okay, there's this set screw in the chain that Bombshell dropped in a previous match. It came off a Bombshell, they didn't Loctite it in, and then when Charles was disassembling the robot, he found this set screw, and all of a sudden he's like, no, what is this? And that was the only thing that stopped him. And he lost an entire side of the drive because that set screw was in there and it just jammed the whole thing up.
Never ever use set screws.
Yeah.
Ever.
On any set screws.
The set screws have their purpose, but Loctite it in and really good.
Yeah.
Right her.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Right here.
So
right next to the R.
So I'm glad to see it back. I personally like Charles, and I think he's hilarious with his ears.
It's perfect.
We can actually have him call him in.
Can we talk about Cobalt?
Yeah.
Scary as hell.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. And they had some reliability issues towards the end. But look at it just go around.
That thing's flinging itself around.
Serious hits.
Yeah. Here, let me get.
They also hit the ground pretty
and there was some serious damage to Overhaul's pontoons in the front.
Oh,
You can see them all there. I think that's 1/4 inch thick. Or
Nice.
no, I think it's
Yeah.
5 millimeter because Charles uses metric material or something.
It was
5
3/16.
millimeter.
So a little
AR.
less than 1/4 inch.
But yeah, I mean that's some pretty good
Hey,
gashes.
here, hold on. Let me put you on speaker. So we're talking about the damage in your fight with Cobalt.
Yeah, the stream's kind of breaking up for me. Where are we at right now?
Oh, we're talking about Cobalt versus Overhaul and the fact that you got in as a wild card. And we just went over your lovely set screw incident, set Gazi gate.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the stream to catch up. Sorry.
Oh, well, it's like 30 seconds behind, so you might.
Oh yeah, whatever. It is kind of hopeless.
Yeah.
I guess this probably make it out. Yeah.
You could just talk
Just
to
stop
it.
watching.
Just
Anyways, well,
Yeah.
And
let me tell you about what really happened in SawBlaze versus Razorback. It's Obama, all right? Obama is abusing his executive orders, influence the outcome of these matches. You know?
Oh God, no, Charles.
It's so clear. His boycott is undercover with Bernie Sanders, who is as popular as the U.S. Congress. Take away our Second Amendment right to Russian weapons.
Sure.
you lost
So we
your
can't
own.
defend
I'll hang
ourselves
up on you,
against
Charles. Don't
Clinton
make me
with
do it.
Obama.
What? Yeah.
All right. Well,
All
we
right.
lost
We
Charles.
lost Charles. Charles went crazy.
I think Charles went crazy.
What happened?
Yeah.
We lost him.
Anyway,
look, there it is.
I'm excited to see. That's funny.
Oh, catching up.
Yeah, that's way behind. Yeah, so I'm
It's
excited
like
to see
3 minutes behind.
Overhaul again because, in testing it was actually really effective and the clamping arm works really well. It's not going to crush anything, but it should be good to watch and you can actually control people. It's another complete control.
Without fire.
Yeah, and so let's see who else. Mega Tento. It'll be cool to see because it's awesome looking.
Who's she
and,
fighting?
Who is Mega Tento
Stinger?
is fighting. No. Mega in the next round, they are fighting. Is it
I don't know. We don't have the brackets.
Stinger?
I don't know. Let's be
May have been- it may
100%
have been
sure.
Stinger.
Let's
I
be
think it's-
100%
it may have
sure
been
before we
Stinger.
say anything.
Stinger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was
Okay.
Stinger. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you said it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they're fighting Stinger, and I mean, everyone loves Matt Maxim, and he's an awesome driver. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
And Stinger doesn't fit under the
Right.
ladybug.
Right. So it worked perfectly against Poison Arrow, but for
And Stinger has fire.
Stinger does have fire.
a lot of
They
fun.
have a really effective fire too, because
Fire
they're
is
always
classic.
underneath
Yeah,
the other
exactly.
robot. Where do they have their flame?
Yeah.
Straight up.
Fire against
Straight
plastic. That
up.
should be
Yeah.
fun.
So it'll be a tough fight for Mega Tento for sure. It's a real test of the smother technique. We'll see. And then lastly, Ghost Raptor. I'm amazed that Ghost Raptor got in. I mean,
So-
just because of how wrecked it got versus
Right.
Whyachi.
So he was actually gone like the whole next day, I think.
Oh,
Back
fixing
to his
things.
shop or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fixing his robot up, and I'm incredibly impressed that he was able to get it back together.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact that he,
Like
a
together
testament
enough
to Chuck Pitzer is that he got that thing back together because
together
it was
enough
trashed.
together enough to sway ABC to give him a wild card,
Yep.
and so he had to have done that ahead of time enough, or they must have been
Yeah, because they chose
contact.
the event was Tuesday, Wednesday were the qualifying fights, and Thursday we had a break day, and that's when they announced.
After the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they announced like noon. They
Yeah.
announced noon that day who the wild cards were. So he had to have that at least in some capacity fixed, by then. So, we'll see what happens. It was amazing.
Stream is slow.
Yeah, well, luckily we're recording it so we can upload it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to go to questions? If there are any questions,
Wanna
Yeah,
know.
let's do it.
are there any questions in the stream?
Why didn't Ultraviolet work?
Why didn't Ultraviolet work? That's a great question.
I'm not sure anybody really knows.
Well,
Okay,
it
so-
initially didn't work because their wheels had not enough
Clearance.
height clearance. They didn't
Yeah.
have enough clearance, and it literally was resting on the chassis.
Right, but what we had to do is we had to test we had a functional test
Twice.
in the pits. We had twice before a fight. So we had it in the pits, and we went over to the arena, and there was a small test box behind the arena, and then we had to test again. So
Full functional.
at any of those points, they could have.
Well, it's possible they did that while they were still on the cart. You know, it's just to check, make sure the wheels move. So they might have not actually put it on the
Possibly.
floor.
Yeah, but
that's a
after
good
they lost the first match, not being able to drive, I would have
I-
made damn sure that thing could drive.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did. And in fact, in the beginning of our fight, they did move. They did move,
Did they?
I think, 4 feet. They did move out of the square. They did move around, and then they started doing the flipping thing. And
I
at
think
some
they- I thought
level,
they
that
almost went
tactic,
straight to flipping.
they did move. They pretty quickly went to flipping, and that tactic clearly worked for a little bit because there were a couple of times where I went right under them.
And hit the wall.
Yeah, I hit the screws once or twice trying to hit them because it would be perfect, and then they'd flip around and like do a cartwheel over us.
Toro.
So I don't know. That robot was actually built really well. If you
It was
looked
cool
at
looking.
it was really cool. It was different. It was cool.
Nice
It-
implementation of glow wire.
Glow wire
yeah,
lights.
yeah. It was the coolest looking.
I'm surprised they didn't do the glow wire shoes though that Charles had last year,
Well, you can only be so cool, I guess.
but it matches the robot perfectly.
Maybe they just weren't privy to that information.
Maybe they're on Amazon.
Yeah, they don't have Amazon. But yeah, so I don't know why it didn't move, but they liked that whirly
Twirly.
gig
That worked.
The
thing
breakdancing.
instead.
It was breakdancing.
Next question.
Andrea, they asked how it feel to go from wild card to seed 3.
Yeah, I can't speak for Mike, but one of my main goals was to not need a wild card. You know, we kind of like redeemed ourselves at the end of the first season because we're the robot that almost beat Tombstone, which, you know, is tough, it's frustrating.
Yes.
So we really wanted to, you know, in that first match just go all out, you know, and which I think Mike did a great job at. He just went straight into the robot. Sorry, Victor.
You're welcome.
And, you know, I think in the number 3 seed, you know, our history with season 1 definitely played a role in that too. You know, the fact that we almost, you know, we didn't beat Tombstone, but we imparted some damage to them at least. So I think that played a part in it too. And it's actually, I think it's kind of cool because the only 2 robots seated above us are the 2 robots that beat us in season 1. So yeah, we were pretty excited about
Makes
that.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got your game down. I mean, you have the look, you have your getup, you have your shtick, whatever you want to call it. It's all. You know,
Yeah,
dotted.
I think with RT, people either love us or hate us. You know, we've gotten made fun of a lot for like the voodoo finger thing, but then some people love it. You know, the kids love it, so
I think
we'll
we're all
keep it
learning.
going.
All the teams are learning from you.
Yeah. Next question.
Were the judges biased?
No, I don't think the judges were biased. I think they did frankly, I think they did a really good job.
I don't think
I'd
they're
like
the
to-
ones that
I'd
are
like to-
biased.
I'd like to quote Kenny, and he says, "Oh no, this was the other dude,
Chris.
Chris, saying, you know, if fans rally behind a robot, that the fans might affect judges' decisions, which that's totally not true.
Yeah, that's
fans
No,
should
it
not
shouldn't be.
affect
The judges, you know, they had their rule set and they followed it, and I think they were totally fair.
They were really consistent.
And they
too.
were,
It was
yeah. More
consistent.
importantly, they were consistent. You know, you could tell if like if they were favoring someone, it would be pretty apparent.
Well, you had a different guest judge every round, so at least one of the 3
Right.
was changing.
Well, yeah, but my point is that if they had been, you know, favoring of someone, it would have been pretty apparent when it's like totally nonsense, and everyone's upset. But I think they were, like you said, they were very consistent, and you know, it's a tough job. I think all of us at some point have been judges for little fights, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a fight like Yeti versus Lockjaw,
Right.
where it's
yeah.
a pretty even match, and someone loses a weapon, and then the other guy literally says, "I don't have a strategy." So,
Well, I think they made it pretty clear that you can't lose your active weapon, right? Like Disco Inferno lost their active
Yeah.
weapon. For
Yeah.
me, that's it. Unless they, I don't know, they would really have to do something crazy
Yeah.
to win that match at that point.
yeah,
and Lockjaw's the same thing.
SawBlaze, you know, seemingly lost their weapon, and you know, if
And that's fine. This is BattleBots, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
it's
it's
totally,
about.
it's totally fair.
Yeah, I think the tough part for us was getting accustomed to those rules because it wasn't very explicit that they favored damage over control and strategy, I guess, versus last year. And this is
It's
something-
always been kind of strategies weighed pretty heavily.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how this, you know, if we get a season 3, how it's going to affect what people bring to season 3. You know, 'cause
Totally.
somebody
Totally.
like Charles has a very control-oriented robot, so maybe that makes a little less sense with the rules the way they are.
I mean, a lot of high KE, you know, getting really
Yeah.
potent weapons like your guys'.
Well, we'll have to see how complete control and overhaul do in this event. That'll do to it.
Yeah.
But point being, no, the judges are not biased. They're actually really great.
All right. How were your comments on the wildcard selection process?
Oh,
Thoughts on it?
yeah. Thoughts on the wild card process?
That's where the bias comes in, I think.
Look, the wild card process. My look on it is the wild card process is chosen by the producers. It's a selection committee.
They're clear about that.
They're very clear about that. They're very they're tight-lipped about their criteria, but they're very open that it's how we thought you did and how we think you're going to do in the event. They're not going to.
Well, I don't know the answer to this, but did any season 1 teams that lost the qualifiers not get a wild card? Nightmare, Overhaul.
Mohawk lost and didn't get a qualifier.
But Mohawk wasn't in the actual tournament. Oh, they were.
Yeah,
in the qualifier.
they
right.
lost to Fight Force.
No, I mean in season 1 they were in the qualifier.
Oh, right. So you mean the top 16?
The top 32, let's say.
Oh, okay.
Or the top
Somebody
16,
who
right?
got
Last year
a
was
wild
16.
card last season that didn't get one this season.
No, somebody who was in the tournament, not the
Top
qualifiers,
16.
but the actual tournament season 1
got in.
that did not get a wild card this year.
I think there's only.
Because Ghost Raptor got it, Nightmare got it, Overhaul got it.
That's true.
So I think
mean,
it might have
maybe
been preferential to teams that were
Have
already
some
had a
history.
presence from the season.
war
1.
has
and that makes sense, and that's fair.
I mean, that kind of builds up to what they think you can do, right? If you've been on a bunch of episodes in season 1, then
they know that
yeah.
clearly whatever happened was a fluke.
They
And
also-
maybe if you
Part of it was,
if you've been in season 1,
Yeah, part of it is how familiar they are with you and your robot, and like for me, lasting 5 seconds,
Yeah.
they probably didn't know like, oh, this guy's like
Oh, it
robot's
sucks.
completely functional and
Yeah.
can kick some ass, but they didn't.
Did
because
he
they
come
didn't see
over
it.
and talk to you at all after the match? No, really.
We started copying the Disco Inferno tactic and leaving up signs.
well,
That didn't work for them. So
Yeah, so-
I think at the point where they come to talk to you, it's because they want to
they've
give you a
already-
wild card, and they're just trying to see if there's something that's going to change their minds. It's kind of the opposite.
Think so?
It's like the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, at the
Yeah.
end
No
of the
bad
day,
rumors.
people in season 1 had a leg up. Because we knew what it's like to be on camera, knew what it's like to be a little bit more expressive than we all normally would.
Well,
like,
As
Victor,
you
how-
saw my
You're-
crazy
you're-
tongue face.
yeah.
I would never done that season 1.
you probably wouldn't do it
I probably won't do
again.
it for season 3.
That'll just never happen again.
Until it does.
But
Until
I'm
it
gonna
does.
have that
Until it
just
does.
on a
That's just
GIF
natural.
for your face when you call me.
It was just
enough.
needed. Your
Let's
body
see
was
that.
like, this needs to happen. And
Yeah.
Just
And
venting all that.
Well, I love that
It-
that's
it
the
worked.
moment when you're introduced as my boyfriend, so now the world knows
That
that
was
Mike, so
crazy.
it's kind of great.
That's really great.
So romantic.
I was overcome with voodoo isms or something. I don't know.
Next question.
Victor Wheelguard's future. Yes, no.
Yes.
Do it.
Well,
Don't do it.
Yes, currently. We already have wheel guards,
What?
and we have a whole different configuration for Rotator that we didn't even get to use, but we use those for the horizontal spinners. So we were thinking, what are the chances a weapon that wide will actually hit our wheel when we got all this spinning stuff around it that it has to get through?
As soon as you think that, that's exactly what's
Yeah,
going to happen.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
just how it
Yeah.
works.
The only thing is that we would have to sacrifice a disc to add those wheel guards, so that's why there's a separate configuration. So
Okay.
it's kind of a trade-off.
All right. Fair.
But definitely.
We were really nervous about your second disc, so it's.
Yeah, so
I
I
would've
was,
made the same
I was kind of
call.
hoping they don't know what's the front, what's the back. So actually, the top disc was the front of that match because I know you guys are used to the bottom disc being the front.
Oh, really?
But I couldn't drive, so it didn't make a difference.
Well, you had the robot sideways in the square, and I was like
So I
waiting,
couldn't tell.
and I'm
Yeah.
waiting.
That was part of the strategy.
Yeah, and I'm
like,
waiting
is he gonna
for
go
the thing to
towards
start,
the
you know,
left
like-
side, and then I'll go on the right side, and
This guy.
just sneakiness didn't
All
work.
my
You and your mind games.
Yeah.
Actually, right before his match, we started covering our robot, even though there was nothing to cover, just because he was doing it.
Yeah.
We were like, yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, question for you. Gonna paraphrase a little bit and expand. What part do beards play in BattleBots and winning?
I definitely think they're good luck. As you can see, my beard is much longer now than it was on the show.
Team thing.
So I think I might just let it grow for season 3.
Just for the record, I'm against this plan.
You need a clip.
now on
Doesn't
record.
get caught in your tractor.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
just keep it here.
that'll
Yeah,
be
as long as it's safe. Just gotta keep it safe.
Safety first.
Wear your glasses.
So, about those guns, thoughts, comments on guns and BattleBots?
Yes.
Like real guns?
Like
Or
real,
Adam's guns.
like legit guns or Adam guns?
Adam guns.
Okay.
Well, we don't know what Adam was shooting. It's a secret.
They
It's
said.
special effects.
Kenny's like, well,
paintballs.
Chris, the secret is, and then he proceeded to talk about it.
Spoiled. The
They're
secret.
little, they're cool.
They're firecracker special effects paintballs.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I
they're,
mean, I know what they are.
Yeah, I mean, they're cool stuff, but, it's for show.
Obviously.
It's
Okay.
great
Totally,
for show.
totally different. So I thought it was really
It was
cool.
cool.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
totally different, and I do like that, and it was...
I like how the person operating it actually had
Yeah.
a trigger.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
It would have been cool if they could actually aim them, though.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
kind
on
of looked
top-
like
independent of the
she's
robot.
kinda
Aim
VR.
the whole robot.
With a VR headset, and you can...
I mean,
They
even just
were gonna
servo
have an
on
FPV, and he
Yeah.
had the rig that he showed me. It's goggles that you wear, and it's FPV. I mean, she doesn't have control, but she's like looking dead ahead where the robot.
Next thing she has to
That's
do
all
is
she
kill
needs to
shot.
know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kill
and
shot.
then she
No.
had the pistol
Yeah.
Right.
to
That was
pull the
great.
trigger.
It was cool. Yeah.
Would have landed
I
more
think
hits if she
having-
rotated at 90 degrees. and she
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, well,
It's a true.
it's the
It should have
outside.
felt like this.
Yeah, it was like this.
Like, it's pretty awkward, honestly.
So the last one, there's a comment about the two testing before going in. This one specifically asks about Evolve and Overlord working, but if you want to expand on that whole testing.
Oh,
What
yeah.
a waste of everybody's time it was.
So...
Yeah.
Hey,
And weighing twice, too.
yeah, so...
Unofficial and official scales.
yeah,
Which
so...
they knew were not the same.
The
I mean,
one
there
that
definitely
was the
0.2
official
weight
scale
pound
that they
wise.
then changed to the unofficial scale, and I think they just wrote un.
It was, if you pass this scale, you'll pass this scale. So make sure you pass this scale first. It's like, okay, well, why don't we just weigh with the real scale?
Because they had the official scale in the pits, and then
No, that was the
That was the unofficial.
That was
one.
the
but it
unofficial.
became the unofficial. It
Well-
was originally when they had
No.
this sign at the beginning, the first
Because
day.
the one that was near the arena was in 0.1 pound increments, and the one that was in the pit was 0.2 pound increments.
I'm not saying they switched the weighers. They
Change
changed
the paper.
the sign, the piece of paper. that
Oh,
said what it
from
was.
unofficial to
Oh,
official.
yes.
All right,
Well, after you weigh in the pits, they actually have someone escort you all the way over
Yeah.
to the other, so you can't actually change your robot.
Right.
So it just made everyone really
yeah.
nervous.
Yeah, it did make everyone nervous. We actually did change stuff about...
They hated it.
They did not like that. So
Don't worry, it's gonna weigh the same.
Yeah.
So now
Actually,
we
it's
understand
in-
why we had
it's
to
in
weigh
our-
it
yeah.
twice.
Our
It's in our
argument
next
kept
fight.
telling them like, dude, that's so dumb. We're not gonna change something from 100 yards from here to 100 yards away.
But wasn't
and then
it
you
500
guys.
yards?
yeah, well, we do. So I
Full
won't
other
give away
building.
too many details because it's for the next fight that we have. But we had an aluminum back and a steel back, and an aluminum top and a polycarbonate top. And we were doing this juggling match of, okay, well, what can we get away with? And then at the scale, we're like, oh, okay, well, put that on there. Oh, that'll totally make weight. So we swapped everything around on our way over there, and we got over there, and then it was a little overweight. So like, oh, guys, and then so we swapped something back. But yeah, so the testing thing, to the question, Walden Overlord they were almost pulled.
Yeah.
They were this close.
They were.
They probably came the closest of anybody to actually being pulled from the match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Besides us.
They actually filmed Scorpios's entrance right into the through the tunnel.
Yes.
Did they go into the arena
think-
too?
Yeah.
I think they
so.
went into the arena.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they filmed the whole thing. Farouk even did the intro and everything, right?
I'm
I
pretty
believe.
sure. And then all of a sudden, I hear over the radios because we're too busy doing something. Hear over the radio that Walden Overlord is working again, and they're actually going to fight. And everyone was super excited because it's awesome, and everyone wanted to see the dinosaur bite the guy's head off.
Well, the thing with Warhead is that if they did go up against Scorpios, they would probably use their other attachment.
Yeah.
Scorpios
Right.
is a serious robot, so
And we actually ran into a similar issue because we were supposed to fight Helichopper.
right,
And
yeah.
right at the last minute, Helichopper had technical issues, so they said, all right, well, we're going to replace you. We're going to put someone else in. We're like, okay, who? And like Scorpios, in particular, Scorpios is like the dark knight of all this, the dark horse, because I saw Scorpios just chilling over in the tunnel waiting, and they wouldn't tell us who we were going to fight. And I would have changed stuff if we were going to have to fight Scorpios. Now, luckily, we ended up fighting Ultraviolent, and so we wouldn't have changed anything anyway. But we were going to like put a giant piece of AR on the top to kind of give us some protection.
Overhead saw
Yeah,
protection.
Some. But yeah. The last minute stuff can be hard on the other robot,
teams,
actually.
yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
Last thing.
last question.
All was HyperShock equals Witch Doctor, ... debate.
Who the hell asked that?
Yeah, who asked
The
that one?
eternal debate.
So, okay.
Witch Doctor obviously came first.
The 120-pound Witch Doctor came first.
Yes, it did.
Did did Kevin Barker's K2 come first?
Irrelevant.
Well, I mean, are we just
Is
talking
it
about
though?
dual discs? Because I think HyperShock and Witch Doctor actually have totally different building philosophies. You know, the robots
Right.
aren't. The only similarity is that they have 4 wheels and 2 discs. You know,
Yeah.
everything else is so different inside.
Totally.
Although you did use our wheels.
That's true.
But
That is
literally.
true.
That's a
That
different
is
story.
true. Thanks, Will.
The simple answer would be, what?
We built your robot.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
you guys did
Yeah.
help us build our
Yeah.
robot.
You wouldn't
That's a good
finish
point.
without
But
us.
there's a help, the
Possible.
help word in there.
Yeah,
There's a lot of cross
Build the
contamination.
robot.
Yeah, there is a lot of cross-contamination there. I would say that when we were designing our weapon, we said, well, let's build it like Witch Doctor.
Oh, do we got that?
So,
Recorded?
in fairness,
What did you
HyperShock
say?
initially was a Witch Doctor clone.
But then that same year we moved away from the double
But
discs.
then you guys moved away from the single disc to the
double
double
disc.
disc.
Yeah.
So now you're either a clone of yourself or a HyperShock clone. And the fact that you added a lifting arm, self-righting arm, that's pretty HyperShock.
But let's face it, we
You
couldn't
beat us
come
to
back
it.
to season 2 without
Yeah.
some sort of
Yeah,
self-righting
you could.
mechanism.
You had to have it.
Right.
You had to have it.
Yes, but is Yeti a witch HyperShock clone? Lifter drum.
I think Yeti's different
Spinny
enough.
drum.
I don't know.
It
I
doesn't
think
have
everybody's
dual
got
discs.
their own. I mean,
They're all
to
different.
the layman,
all different,
To the
obviously.
layman, maybe they look similar, but I mean, they're different enough.
But if we're talking about people considering them clones and then being like the
Like
style
all the Crushers
of
are
robot.
Razor clones.
Yeah.
yeah, Mohawk is insanely similar to Razor, though. I mean, there was
There was definitely some inspiration there.
yeah, it's not lightly inspired. I mean, it's like pretty much.
Well, if you're going to make a Crusher, that's what you make. And if you're going to, at least up until now, it seems, if you're going to build a small, compact, vertical spinning weapon, something like what we built is kind of the
Well, then
thing
you
to do.
could say Poison Arrow and Minotaur are the same thing.
Yes.
They are
They're-
very similar. There are
Yes.
different takes on the
Right.
approach.
And Poison
Um,
Arrow's 4-wheel drive, Minotaur's 2-wheel drive. I mean,
Perfect example.
to us they look completely different.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah,
Right.
they're vertical spinning weapons, but whatever.
Right.
Does Cobalt look the same as Tombstone?
So some people
Kind
might.
of. Yeah,
Yeah.
similar. But
All right,
But
well,
again, it's style.
everyone's got their own style.
I think that's perfect.
If we do a carbon fiber frame, then we can say, that would be the last clause.
yeah, if you guys go to
And
carbon,
lifty-
then
two
I'm going
lifty
to start
arms,
charging you a,
No, we
surplus
can,
fee.
I think we can do 2 lifty arms. Don't ban us on that. Come on.
No. All right. Well, I think that's probably enough for one evening. So once again, we're Team HyperShock. They're Witch Doctor and Rotator, and we'll see you again next week for these first fights of round 1. Should be interesting. All right. See you guys.
But